before the first rays of sunlight could fully warm the South China Sea. The surrounding space was a dense blue of screens trying to prolong the final moments. The distant fishing vessel, bearing the number of transoceanic ships, moved powerfully, battling the white-capped waves to reach its defined speed. The roar of the diesel engine rumbled steadily in the engine room, vibrating like the heartbeat of a steel beast reclaiming the open sea. On the bridge, the flickering lights from the navigation screens, fish finders, and radar reflected off the wine-swept, brown face of the old captain. His eyes gazed intently into the endless expanse beyond, where schools of red snapper, mackerel, and sardines congregated hundreds of fathoms deep. This voyage was unlike any other. It carried the hopes of a year spent at sea. The sea is both unforgiving and abundant. To obtain its treasures, fishermen must fish with courage and an iron will. The wind began to pick up, carrying the distinctive salty taste of the sea onto their skin, into every fiber of their protective clothing. On the deck, the crew members had been awake since 3 in the morning. They quietly prepared their tools, checking each mesh net. Each stage was steadfast and resilient. The silence wasn't fear, but intense concentration before a major battle. Everyone had their own task, working in perfect harmony and precision, like the gears in a flawless machine. Everyone understood that a small mistake at sea could cost lives, or ruin an entire voyage lasting months. The network of docks, iron chains, and the clanging of wine echoed across the sky. Cargo barrels, weighing tons began watersage. It was like a problem to be solved using a combination of nylon fibers, rotating and expanding the netting to secure a large area of Tisea. The biggest spoils, like the barrels bobbing on the water's surface. Sweat began to trickle down their tanned faces. Under the bright streetlights, beads of sweat from their armpits resembled pearls, trickling from their eyebrows down and mingling with the salty sea air. The grip of their rough, calloused hands clung tightly to the ship's hull and cables. Waves surged high, the ship rocking violently in a V-shape. At times, the bow seemed to plunge downwards as if about to sink into the ocean, only to rise again to meet the new wave. The circle tightened. From above, the net now formed a perfect circle, isolating the entire school of fish within. The water's surface began to churn violently. Bubbles of air rose like boiling water. This was a sign that millions of fish below were thrashing about, punching each other, trying to find a way out, but every escape route had been cleverly sealed by human hands. The ship began to slow down, maintaining its central position in preparation. The hydraulic winch roared loudly for a long time, signaling the official start of the net hauling process. The steel wire, stretched taut like a guitar string by an adult's wrist, emitted terrifying screeching sounds under the pressure of hundreds of tons. The weight of the net at this moment was an enormous unknown. It was not only the strength of tens of thousands of mesh holes filled with water, but also the life force of hundreds of tons of fish frantically thrashing beneath. The fishermen's voices, blending with the sound of waves and machinery, create a heroic labor anthem out at sea. Each meter of net pulled ashore is a miracle, a combination of muscular strength and mechanical technology. The bulging biceps of the crew members are tense, veins clearly visible beneath the waves, their skin glistening with sweat and seawater. They form a long line, rhythmically pulling up the nets that have been brought ashore, neatly arranging them in preparation. The sea was no longer blue, but had begun to turn a strange, brilliant red. This was the silvery, reddish light reflecting from the dense, muscular bodies of millions of redfish huddled together as their living space narrowed. The heat radiating from the nets created an aura that overpowered the chill of the night sea breeze. As they got closer, the nets became heavier, the hydraulic winches occasionally stalling due to overload, and thick black smoke billowed from the ship's smokestacks. The captain had to constantly adjust the ship's angle of inclination and speed to avoid dangerous situations or the ship's crew. This was a matter of life and death, a hair's breadth between spectacular success and catastrophic failure. All crew members were breathless, pouring all their strength into their hands and feet gripping the slippery deck. When the last net bag, the concentrated essence of the catch, was pulled to the surface, an extremely limited and breathtaking spectacle unfolded. A massive mass of fresh red snapper and mackerel piled on top of each other formed a moving island right next to the boat. We thrashed about frantically, splashing water meters high, creating a mist of water under the high-powered lights. The reddish-pink color of the fish's bodies and the silvery color of its bellies blended together to create a vibrant, lively spectrum of colors. The sea was truly golden. This dispels all the fatigue and pain from the previous hours of hard labor. Radiant smiles and excited high fives appear on the faces of each fisherman. Quiet tears of happiness stream down their tan cheeks, mingling with the salty taste of the sea. For them, this catch not only brings high economic value, helping to support their families and educate their children, but also affirms the perseverance, experience, and skill of those who master the open sea. The system needed to be loaded when the ship started operating. The specialized scoop was lowered, blown into the middle of the fish catch, and then gently lifted each ton-heavy block of fish, which floated down onto the deck. The fish came down in a torrent like a summer rain shower, the splashing and thrashing of the fish on the wooden deck creating the most joyful, resonant sound of life at sea. In just a moment, the vast deck was filled with a sea of pinkish red fish. The joy of victory did not make the fishermen forget the next important task, preserving the catch. After being brought aboard, the fish needed to be immediately transferred to the cold storage to maintain their absolute freshness before being transported ashore for consumption. The lid of the ice-filled hold was opened, and a thick mist of cold air rose up, a stark contrast to the stifling heat of the deck and the rising sun on the horizon. The crew then embarked on a new phase with rapid, inexpensive speed. Some shoveled the fish, others pushed it down into the hold hatches, and still others in the hold distributed the fish in even, smooth layers interspersed with layers of coarse crushed ice. From this attack, tons of red snapper quickly flowed down the ship, filling the holds to provide support. This process required meticulousness and skill, because if the ice wasn't evenly distributed, the world When the last fish was neatly arranged in the cold storage and the chest was securely sealed, the brilliant morning sun bathed the vast ocean in golden light. The ship now felt more stable, sinking deeper into the water, carrying within it a treasure trove of hundreds of tons of red fish from the ocean. Everyone sat down on the deck, exhausted, but their eyes were filled with joy and pride. They drank liters of warm tea. Eating bowls of hot fish porridge cooked over a fire right on the boat, chatting about the historic catch, and dreaming of the day they returned to the mainland to a warm welcome from family and loved ones back home. The voyage was a resounding success, but the main journey of these fishermen, embodying the spirit of the sea and upholding the sovereignty of their homelands, islands and seas, will never cease. The calm morning light not only brought golden rays of sunshine spreading evenly across the sea, but also infused the entire crew with a fresh burst of energy after a long, sleepless night. At this moment, Battle Fortress, both majestic and silent, sheltering the fruits of their labor for nearly 7 weeks. From afar, the deck still shimmered with streaks of water mixed with an abundance of cod, like grains of gold under the sunlight. The smell of cooking smoke from the small cabin at the back of the boat began to spread, mingling with the salty air of the sea. It was the aroma of freshly cooked rice, the fresh fish caught last night to make breakfast for the crew. After the tense moments of pulling in the nets from the open sea, this was the most peaceful, most precious time. These men, inherently rough and quick-witted, deep within the ship's hold, another silent battle was raging. Although large quantities had been moved into the hold, monitoring temperature and preservation quality required meticulous attention to detail. The person responsible for managing the cold storage, or storage space, carefully used specialized temperature measuring equipment to double-check everything. In the depths of the hold, the sub-zero temperatures were comfortably cold. Preserving hundreds of tons of red snapper is not simply a matter of piling up ice. Red snapper has sweet, tender flesh, but it easily loses its quality if the temperature isn't low enough or the ice isn't evenly distributed. Each layer of sorting must be technically ensured, without overlapping, preventing the fish underneath from being crushed. The crushed ice must be old, slow melting, and tightly packed between each fish. The professionalism of the fishermen can be seen in this. The generators, powering the refrigeration system, continued to hum steadily beneath the ship's hull. For seafarers, this sound was more important than music, as it was a guarantee of the safety of their entire family's assets. If the refrigeration system malfunctioned, the entire catch of tons of fish risked being lost. Therefore, the mechanics constantly went down into the hold to inspect, listening to every small sound of the pistons, checking the fuel levels and the gas lines. Back on deck, after being energized by a simple breakfast, the crew resumed their work cleaning and preparing for the next haul of nets. The sea waits for no one, and the schools of redfish continued to move constantly beneath the ocean's surface. The liner was reinforced so that after the fish were removed, it now lay horizontally on the deck like a sleeping sea monster. The task was to collect and shake off all the seaweed and debris clinging to the mesh nets, and neatly. Meanwhile, in the corner of the command bridge, a craftsman was writing in his operational logbook. Handwritten notes, dagklums, contained invaluable information: fishing performance, casting times, wind direction, currents, and estimated catch. This wasn't just a document for reporting to the crew when the ship returned to shore. It was also a secret book distilled from the sweat and blood of the crew, a legacy he would pass on to future generations, the children of the sea.